This is The Minimum Commitment, film theory in small doses. Some stories ask, who committed the crime? Some ask why it happened. Seven, by David Fincher, asks something worse. What kind of world could make this possible? A world where darkness isn't an interpretation. It's the landscape. Before the first victim is discovered, before the detectives collect a single clue, Fincher has already shown us the world we are about to enter, and made damn sure we don't feel safe in it. There's no way out of this perspective. We learn the order of this world from how the city looks, from the texture of the sound, from a mood that never lifts. Seven isn't just a story about a serial killer. It's a story about a city where despair is everyday life, where every attempt at goodness feels penciled in, and the darkness is always there, waiting to dim whatever light shows up. I'm Don Lawler, film scholar with a passion for sound. Let's see what David Fincher is asking us to notice. Let's get into it. Veteran detective William Somerset, played by Morgan Freeman, is 7 days away from retirement. Years on the job, staring into human depravity, have taught him to observe more than he reacts. His new partner, David Mills, played by Brad Pitt, is almost the polar opposite. He's young, sure of himself, hungry to prove something. He still believes determination and hard work can make a difference. Their first case looks routine. A man has been murdered in his apartment. At first glance, just another brutal homicide in a city drowning in violence. But this killing isn't a crime scene. It's an opening act. The first sermon in a series that will follow. Nothing feels impulsive. Everything feels arranged. A cold, deliberate choreography of evidence. As more bodies are discovered, a pattern emerges. This isn't random violence. It's a mind designing each murder as part of something far bigger than any single crime scene. The focus of the investigation shifts. And now the question stops being, who did this? It becomes, why would someone believe they had to? The opening credits don't simply introduce the story. They introduce the philosophy. This is Fincher's first argument about the world we are about to enter. Most title sequences orient us. Who made the film? Where are we? What's the tone? Seven does something stranger. It disorients us. Scratched film, jump cuts, typography that looks like it's shaking apart. Before we meet detectives Somerset and Mills, before we even see the city, the film has already denied us solid ground. The design of Kyle Cooper's title sequence does more than prepare us for the man behind the crimes. It puts us inside his mind before we ever meet him. For almost 2 minutes, we're living inside his journals, his photographs, his razor blades, his compulsive redactions, and obsessive rituals. We inhabit his psychology before we even know his name. That's a radical, formal decision. The audience begins the movie psychologically unsettled before the narrative has even started. That's formalism in action. Meaning isn't created only by what a filmmaker includes, it's also created by what a filmmaker leaves out, and by how the image and sound are put together. Form doesn't just support the story, it becomes the first layer of the story. The city in Seven never tells us where we are. There are no landmarks, no neighborhoods, no sense of history. David Fincher deliberately strips away the details that would let us locate this story on a map. And that absence is significant. A specific city allows us to keep the story at a distance. An anonymous city refuses that comfort. It poses a much more disturbing question. What if this place isn't somewhere else? What if it's anywhere? Or worse, what if it's becoming everywhere? Fincher removes identity so the city becomes less a location than a condition. By the time Somerset begins his investigation, the city already feels morally exhausted. Kevin Spacey portrays John Doe, the perplexing killer of this film. He didn't create the city's exhaustion. He simply believes he's exposing it. That distinction changes the entire film. We're no longer watching a killer invade a healthy society. We're watching someone who thinks society has been unhealthy from the start. If the city represents a world that has lost its moral center, then David Fincher introduces two detectives who respond to that world in very different ways. William Somerset has spent a lifetime looking into humanity's darkest corners. He no longer rushes toward resolve. He's learned to watch, to wait, to let the pattern show itself. On his own time, he's in the library, trying to learn enough to understand what they're facing. Morgan Freeman's performance is remarkable for its restraint. He rarely raises his voice. His movements are measured. Even his silences seem deliberate. He's learned that surviving this world requires discipline, not optimism or denial. David Mills adopts a different philosophy, where justice remains significant. Brad Pitt plays Mills like a live wire, always in forward motion, interrupting, pacing, reacting before he reflects. His energy fills every room Somerset quietly studies. Neither detective is presented as right or wrong. They represent two distinct reactions to the same ethical environment. One has learned to endure it. The other still believes it can be overcome. John Doe understands that difference better than either of them realizes, and that's exactly where he begins his work. Before the main story begins, David Fincher has already told us how to watch it. Throughout Seven, Fincher rarely explains. He shows. Color guides our attention. Atmosphere becomes character. Performance carries subtext the dialogue never states. Most of the film lives in muted browns, grays, and sickly greens. Then, almost without warning, a single point of warmth appears. The glow of a lamp, a warning light. John Doe's red prison jumpsuit. The red of blood appears as a vivid, almost luminous accent against the muted colors. The color doesn't overwhelm the frame. It quietly commands our attention. Fincher composes our eyes before he ever reaches our emotions. He does the same with performance. Actors become another element of the design. They are shaped, framed and timed like light or color. One of the clearest examples comes in the scene with the lust victim. Actor Leland Orser sits beneath a blanket, struggling to speak. His breathing falters. His eyes refuse to settle. His body tells the story long before his words can. Nothing is explained. Nothing needs to be. The performance has already spoken. In this film, performance isn't separate from form. It is form, another tool the filmmaker uses to create meaning. And another way the audience is kept off balance. John Doe isn't terrifying because he commits murder. Cinema is filled with killers. What makes him unforgettable is his belief that every act has meaning. He isn't just punishing people. He's trying to teach the city a lesson it refuses to learn. Every murder is a lesson in sin, dressed up as justice. Nothing is impulsive or accidental. His violence follows a system, a theology, a corrupted moral system, where every murder is turned into a sermon. That internal logic is what makes him so unsettling. He doesn't see himself as creating evil. He believes he's revealing it. In his mind, the city has already surrendered to greed, gluttony, lust, envy, and pride. His crimes don't introduce those sins. They expose them. That belief is monstrous, because conviction without compassion becomes cruelty. John Doe mistakes judgment for justice. He confuses punishment with redemption. And in doing so, he transforms human beings into symbols rather than people. David Fincher never asks us to admire that philosophy. He asks us to confront it, to ask how someone can build a worldview this internally consistent and this completely devoid of mercy. John Doe's final actions are not meant to evade justice. They are meant to fulfill an idea. Every murder has been building toward a single moment, the transformation of David Mills. Throughout the film, Mills believes the world can still be met with courage, determination, and a clear sense of right and wrong. But John Doe understands something Mills does not. The greatest threat isn't violence. It's despair. Despair convinces us that our principles no longer matter, that restraint no longer matters, that mercy no longer matters. When the final package arrives, John Doe isn't trying to shock Mills. He's trying to make him abandon himself. The real tragedy isn't David Mills killing John Doe. It's that Mills becomes the final sin. Mills is the one who still believes in justice, who still trusts that right and wrong can be enforced. A little hot-headed, yes, but still capable of reason. When he goes off the rails, that's where the brokenness happens. Wrath doesn't arrive in a single moment. It arrives once hope has nothing left to give. Despair does its work first. It strips away the reasons to hold back. Somerset sees it unfolding. He understands exactly what's happening. All his reading, all his research, all his attempts to understand. But in that one terrible moment, none of it protects him. His knowledge can't stop what's already in motion. The final gunshot doesn't end the story. It completes John Doe's design. Mills and Somerset don't walk away unchanged. In this world, the abyss doesn't let go easily. As Seven draws to a close, Somerset recalls a line from Ernest Hemingway.
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for."
Then he quietly adds,
I agree with the second part.
it's one of the most quietly devastating endings in modern cinema. Somerset has spent years staring into the worst of what people can do. He has witnessed conviction without compassion. He has seen the abyss take another life. And still, he chooses to keep fighting. The world may no longer seem like a fine place. It remains worth fighting for. That's your thought for the day. Minimum commitment, maximum meaning. See you next time. The Minimum Commitment is produced, recorded, and edited by Don Lawler. Music by Alon Peretz.